Hi all, Hipper here. So today I thought I was going to go through my Agile cruiser results or stats with you, if you like. So just in case you don't know how to get your detailed statistics, I'll just show it here quickly. So what you have to do is go to wowslegends.com and then log into your account using either Xbox or PlayStation, whatever you're on. Go to account settings up there in the corner, and then go to data protection, which is the GDPR section. And in here you'll be able to do what's called the data export. Now I've already done one, so I can click the link and download my results, but if you haven't done one, there will be a button here that says submit request or something similar to that. So a day or two later they'll be ready for download, and you'll be able to analyze the data in Excel or similar, because it is going to be a raw CSV file format, so you can't just look at your numbers outright. You have to do a little bit of manipulation yourself in Excel or similar, like I said, before you can actually see anything useful. Don't forget to check for the file the day after and like 1 or 2 days after, because that's when the file is there, and it's only available for a few days. I forget how long, but it's not very long. So you have to log in and check, because the email notification does not work. So the stats I've chosen to look into are of course solo stats, which is what's called type 3 in the stat documents itself. So there's no division thing here or anything like that. It's all like standard battles, just myself playing. And I thought I would start out with my new darling, which is the Edinburgh. This is almost exclusively an Agile build. Edinburgh, I think I've done 100 battles with smoke build. So in total I've done 461 battles, 277 of those are at win, meaning that my win rate in Edinburgh is just above 60%. So average damage of 58, it's a little bit low, but I think it's because Edinburgh doesn't have high explosives, so you can't really benefit from fires, which makes it quite hard to actually get your damage up in that ship. I should probably explain the average total cap points here, because it is just a sum of all the cap points in the document. Both successful cap points and also dropped cap points. I'm assuming dropped cap points is when someone resets you and the points you've accumulated, they fall away. So I just added everything together because I'm not really sure what is what, and that way I can better compare it. So I can tell from my ship here that a total cap point of more than 200 seems to be really good. So Edinburgh is one of my best capping cruisers by far. And the XP is also the absolute base XP. I'm not even sure that win bonus is included in here. I have no idea really. Wargaming are the only ones who know that. But it's the same XP I'm using to compare between all ships, of course. So what is immediately obvious here is that I spend a lot of time in the front line in this ship here. You can see almost 800,000 aggro, which is incoming damage, and that 1.8 almost 8.5 average spots. That's probably the highest for any cruiser, and it's actually pretty high in general. Also the fact that I've spotted 8 ships as a maximum by myself, that's almost the whole team. And my survival rate is not very high in this ship here, only 33%. Frags is about 1, I think that's the same for most cruisers actually. 43 accuracy, and max base XP is also okay. The highest kill count I've had in this ship is 5, which is a Kraken, and then my total max incoming damage is 2 million, and the highest damage I have ever had in Edinburgh is 169,000. So not the highest, but it's a very powerful ship, as you can see from the other stats. It's a very good capper, and it is a very good frontline ship. It really is. Alright, so I just want to say again, remember this is all solo standard stats, no divisions included. So let's move on to Wichita here. I have more battles in this ship, 667, 410 wins, 61.5 win rate, that's pretty good. 75 average damage, that's also pretty good. and 196 cap points. That's one of the highest cap points for a cruiser without torpedoes in my game. And the average incoming damage is almost 1 million, which is also a lot. Average spots almost 1.9. I think this is the highest one for any of my cruisers. Survival rate is much higher than Edinburgh. It's 52%, 1.1 frags, and you can see my highest damage at all in this ship is 225,000, which is almost, well, about 50,000 more than Edinburgh. And we'll move on to Otago, and this is the ship with the most battles by far. I have nearly 2,500 battles, nearly 1,500 wins, and all this a 59.3 win rate, which is a little bit lower than most cruisers actually. Only 160 cap points. Compare that to Edinburgh with 200, and Wichita was also around 200, because Otago is not a very good capping cruiser. It's a higher average XP, probably because it benefited from the premium bonus back in the early days. 1.5 average spots, 48 survival rate, and one of the highest. 1.1 frags, and my damage record in Otago is 247,000, and my max base XP is 4,800. So pretty good, but it's very interesting when we move on to the next ship, which is the Otago B. It's exactly the same ship, and I've done obviously less battles, about 200, but my win rate is higher at 62.1. My average damage is lower by 5,000. My capping points are higher, actually quite a bit higher, and survival rate about the same. Everything else is about the same except for my average, like my max damage. But you can see I think overall I'm doing better in Otago B, and I think that has to do with the fact that I've only played this ship with a full Agile build with the Shoreline Baltimore and Takao. I've always had that available on Otago B, and I've only had it available on the original Otago for maybe 6 months, something like that. So I think this is a pretty good indication of what a full Agile build does to a cruiser that can actually benefit from it. Alright, next up is Albemarle, and I've done 324 battles and 190 wins, 58% win rate, actually quite low for a radar cruiser because it's so squishy. 68 average damage, and pretty average total cap points there, not max and not at the bottom. Also quite a low spot rate and ship spotted, and also a low survival rate because it is a very squishy cruiser, as I'm sure you all know. My damage record in Albemarle is 201,000, as you can see here, and that's about it. We'll skip over this one here pretty quickly. Alright, next up is the Exeter Tier 5 Premium Cruiser. 137 battles and a win rate of 62%. Of course the average damage is lower because it's a lower tier, and also about average cap points, which is actually quite surprising because I cap a lot in the ship here, but surprising. Other than that, it's pretty much similar to my other ships, and my highest damage ever is only 125,000 in Exeter. Alrighty, next up is Charles Martel, and I have nearly 1,000 battles in this ship here, and the win rate is 59.4, so just around 60, which seems to be a theme for every cruiser I play with an Agile build. 71 average damage, pretty good. And other than that, it's pretty middling actually. It's a fun ship to play, and my max damage is only 196,000. I'm pretty surprised. I haven't actually broken 200,000 in Martel. That's something I gotta do, something I have to work on, I guess. So other than that, solid ship, but not outstanding in the stats department actually. Okay, next up we have the Prince Eugen, and I have 575 battles in that ship. This is probably the ship with the lowest win rate actually, only 57.4. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. 170 cap points, and other than that, it's also very kind of basic. The highest max base XP is 4,900, that's pretty good actually, and the max damage is 198. And again, I haven't broken 200 in this cruiser here actually. So again, something I'll have to work on. Okay, next up we have the Hipper, and you can see I have more than 1,000 battles in this ship here. And compared to Eugen, the stats are quite similar, except for the win rate is higher in Hipper by about 1%, something like that. And the max damage is also 1,000 higher. So I almost broke 200 in this one, but I haven't done it yet. Survival rate is really low because I tend to YOLO a lot in this ship here, and that's also why it spots quite a bit. So that's Hipper for you. Let's just quickly look at the new Minotaur as well. I only have 84 battles in it, so it's not statistically safe to look at this. Just keep that in mind. Pretty low win rate of 57% actually, compared to the other cruisers. But like high max damage, already 194 because it's legendary obviously, and low survival rate, so nothing really surprising there. Next up we have the Cheshire, and I have exactly 100 battles in that ship. I actually thought I would have a lot more, but I only have 100. 58% win rate, and other than that, not exactly the most like impressive stats. 34% survival rate, pretty low. 140,000 max damage, pretty low. But it is a fun ship to play, and it's difficult, but yeah, from a stats point it's probably not the best ship to carry teams. Next up we have the Amalfi, almost 200 battles and a win rate of, well, let's call it 60%. Very high spots, this one, because I just go in there. I have that nice rolling smoke, so you can pretty much spot the whole enemy team. 44% survival rate, pretty good actually. Also nice capping, it's a good ship overall. Low max damage, 160,000, and as you can see I've never had a Kraken in this ship. My max frags are 4, so yeah, well, quite surprising there actually. Next up we have the Koenigsberg, and if you look back at the Exeter, then Agile cruisers at the lower tiers, down at like 5 and below, they seem to be doing really well. You can see here, I only have 130 battles, so it's like borderline trustworthy, don't know, but it's 64% win rate. That's really good, and most other stats are lower because it's a lower tier, and also it's not the best capping cruiser, as you can tell, but it spots well and it kills well. You can see the average frags is the highest I have by far. It's almost 1.5, while all my other cruisers are about 1.1. So that's also very interesting actually. So the last ship I'll look at is the Yahagi. I only have 61 battles here, so it's really not, well, trustworthy at all, but it's still interesting because the win rate is up at 72%, and it will probably fall a bit down to, I'm guessing, 65, 60, early 60s, something like that. But as you can tell, Agile builds on Yahagi, it works really well from a win rate perspective. Max damage is not very high, and max frags is not very high, but it is a fun ship, and it is interesting to play. So that's the last ship I wanted to look at for this round here, and I hope you enjoyed the video, because I love to poke around the stats and the numbers like this and see which cruisers do the best at different things. And as you can see, Edinburgh and Wichita and Otago, they are probably my best tier 7 cruisers, and then Exeter at tier 5 is the best performers overall, I think. Maybe 1 or 2 others, I can't remember. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and you can download these stats yourself if you want, just like I showed you in the beginning. So I'll see you out there.